Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is May 15th, and today's episode is covering news of some discussions around RPIP implementation, around major upgrades for Rocket Pool. We're also going to be talking about a blast from the past about Rotki's grant rejection, which was over nearly a year and a half ago, and that coming back up. We're going to be talking about Lido potentially starting a new restaking service, and we'll be talking about committing crime in the blockchain and what might happen afterwards. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
So we're going to be starting the episode with Ramana and a discussion that came up in trading today. So Ramana saw that he was under collateralized, and he needed 180 more RPL to be able to claim RPL rewards in the next round. And he started saying that some of the problem is that RPIP 30 isn't implemented properly. I'm supposed to be able to withdraw RPL according to the RPIP, but in reality, nope. I remember asking several times about this while the vote was up and getting deflected. So the question that Ramana was talking about was regarding RPIP 30. Now, for those of you who don't remember, RPIP 30 is the one that changed the way RPL inflation rewards are given to node operators, and the curve being from linear from 10 to 150% changed to being I guess sublinear. I think basically it would give more rewards to people who are on the lower end of collateral rather than those who are on the higher end of collateral. That's just to not pay for privilege speculation. Now part of the RPIP was that you'd be able to withdraw your RPL below 100% as time went on, and this is what Ramana is complaining about, is that those rules still aren't fully in place. And the problem is that the last one that will bring the threshold down, it needs a smart contract change. And here Ramana says that in the vote for it, it said the next significant smart contract upgrade shall contain it, and it means that Houston. So what happened is the vote went live in November, and Houston is going to be coming out in June 6th, I think, June 4th, in like 3 weeks time, and it's not included in Houston. So Ramana was complaining about that and basically saying that this is a discrepancy, and the vote was passed in November. Why wasn't it included? Well, what ended up happening was there was some mistakes made around upgrades for Houston in terms of following the proper methodology in the community to make it happen. And what happened is that the team developed the Houston first and did the RPIPs for it later, which obviously is the bad way of doing things. So what ended up happening was that even though RPIP 30 passed before the Houston RPIPs, by that time it was too late to include RPIP 30 in the Houston stuff. So RPIP 31, RPIP 32, they are part of Houston, but RPIP 30, and I think 28 are not part of Houston, even though they're passed before that. So, we know that this was an issue that came up, and, we know that this is something that the team and the community are working towards fixing for Saturn. And, a lot of people are saying that this is going to be fixed for Saturn, and it was a problem that happened with Houston, and that was because of the mistake and understanding about what order things should be happening in. Well, here Ramana then said that major issue, in my opinion, is that there's no upgrade RPIP defining the content of the upgrade. RPIP 30 makes apparently false claim about when the final stages shall be implemented, and should not have to be paying attention on Discord to know what's reasonable or not. Noshua says that I don't think RPIP 30 makes a false claim, but the language could have been clearer by saying that in the next possible upgrade instead of the next actual upgrade. So there was just a little bit of a discussion that actually went on for quite a while in trading this morning because of this. So the RPIP 30 still isn't fully complete. It's like coming to phase 6 out of 6 now, but the final changes likely won't happen until Saturn, sadly, and that will probably be in the new year most likely. Okay, next we had Lefteris here talking about Rotki, the app that he is the founder of, on on Twitter here, he's saying, are you an Ethereum staker? Use Rotki as it contains arguably the most comprehensive dashboard for your staking needs. A summary of all your staked ETH, consensus layer and execution layer, rewards and withdrawals, and per validator performance table, all filterable. Use Rotki, make money. And then here Blue AVM asked about using Rotki with Rocket Pool. Excuse me, using Rotki with Rocket Pool. It says, does it support Rocket Pool? Can I use it that way? And Lefteris says no, and they won't include Rocket Pool until Rocket Pool gives us a hand. They said they would give us a grant. We made an application, spent hours specking the entire issues in our detail, writing an application in their forums, and then it was denied. Please talk to them if you want this done. And then there was an issue here. The intern replied with a heart, and Blue AVM said it's worth talking to the Rocket Pool community again. Well, the Rocket Pool community was talking about this, and basically what was said was, they asked for $15,000, and the Chaos here kind of brings up some issues that were present with the early GMC rounds. So Chaos says first we'd have to look at the reason why the grant was declined. They don't just say no, and says I guess it was this. So what ended up happening was the GMC argued at the time that some of Rotki's features were behind a paywall, and we don't want. Well, I guess this is what was being said here. The Rotki feedback is here with additional discussion below it, and it sounds like the price was too high for what was being built. Also, there was some confusion about the features being behind a paywall, which was only partially correct. And finally, some issues with how the work was structured, i.e. milestones were requested. I don't know why they didn't clarify, build milestones and resubmit. And then here, Valdorf kind of hits the nail on the head. He says the GMC was a lot shittier at engaging at the time. And then he said we had a number of people who got annoyed at radio silence and then rejection. They were asking for 704 RPL at $21.33. Here Owl, who is currently a GMC member, says if you ever resubmit it, I would likely approve. It seems like an okay price, and they clarified the paywall issue. And then Chaos tagged Lefteris saying, are you interested in resubmitting based on feedback? Owl says, I can't speak for other GMC members, but it's worth getting some feedback for sure. And Blue AVM says, thanks, I think it's worth reconsidering the grant. Hopefully Rotki team reverts with details. So then Lefteris did reply, saying that, hey, sorry for not seeing this earlier. Too many discords and most pings are announcements. We spent too much time on this proposal and specking out the issues and got rejected for a ridiculously low amount of money. If I don't respond or miss pings, best way is to contact Rotki via mail to lifteris@rotki.com about this or any other matter. He says at this point in time, we're still fulfilling obligations with other protocols that want Rotki integrations and are funding them. So for this month, we are at capacity. We would be glad to implement better Rocket Pool support. Can definitely reconsider applying if the spec is the same. No protocol updates have happened since then, but the price will change due to rising inflation and dev hours. So Sneaky joked and said, are you all getting raises? But that's kind of where it stands now. So maybe we'll be getting a new Rotki an application in the coming months. And it seems like, according to Owl, the GMC might be more receptive this time of that. Okay, moving on to some staking news now, and the big staking news today is from Lido. Coming out of Lido here, there's a scoop from CoinDesk saying Lido's co-founders at Paradigm are secretly been funding a restaking startup that will compete with EigenLayer. So here they've got an article about it. They're saying that they're co-founders of Lido and Paradigm. They're backing a competitor basically, and battle lines are forming. And here they've got internal documentation of what it might look like. And they said that the co-founders, dominant liquid staking protocol Lido, along with venture firm Paradigm, are secretly helping to fund new company Symbiotic that would compete in the fast-growing arena of restaking, according to people briefed on the matter. Internal company documents obtained by CoinDesk lay out the diagrams and how the project would work. The emergence of a restaking player with deep-pocketed backers could portend a face-off that might redefine the DeFi landscape. So this is actually really interesting. It seems like a whole bunch of different companies are trying to get into this restaking game. EigenLayer, of course, are by far and away the leaders in this. There's also Garak, Diva pivoted to Nectar and like have consumed Diva within the Nectar brand. And it seems like Lido now are getting in on the game as well. There's a whole lot of money to be made here, just from locking up people's deposits. It seems like Symbiotic will be accepting STETH as their collateral, and it'll be like completely integrated with Lido's products. So this is definitely one to keep an eye on. Of course, we do want more players to come online in the restaking game. We don't everything be going through EigenLayer, but it's going to be interesting to see, like these big players coming online and what the outcome of that is. We definitely don't want these guys getting too big. So yeah. Okay, moving on to some Ethereum news now. So here we got a news broke from Tier 10K saying the Department of Justice indicts brothers for MEV-related wire fraud in first of its kind case. So what's going on over here? This is a case against Anton Perrier Bueno and James I know that I'm butchering that pronunciation. I'm channeling my inner Anthony Sassano here. Perrier Bueno. So these are a pair of brothers who apparently were like math geniuses, and they figured out a way to sandwich attacks. So here in the Rocket Pool Discord, people explained it a little bit better than I can explain it. So let's see what they say. Here, Non-Fungible Yokum was the one who said that DOJ indicted the guys behind the MEV theft last year. And then here there's a sandwich bot, and the guys that called the ambulance, but not for me. And it's a low carb crusader attacking the sandwich bot. Anyway, Non-Fungible Yokum says the flash bot folks were really pissed off about that one. Here, Brent W kind of explains a little bit what happened, and then Yokum explains more about what happened. They said they gave an invalid signature to a relay which didn't care at the time and just sent the signed transactions. Then the exploiters made the purchase side for the MEV bots go through with a full bundle executing, something like that. Non-Fungible Yokum explains it a little bit better. He says they also baited big sandwich opportunity, put up a huge transaction with huge slippage when they knew they had proposal coming up, then sandwich the sandwich bots by replacing the relays block with their own. They got slashed in the process for a double proposal, but wrecked the normal sandwiches. So you might remember this case from the fact that they got slashed. That's how like it jogged my memory. And I remember that, there was this like exploit that kind of happened where they attacked the MEV bots. Googly Eyes says the sandwiching like is still okay, like just regular MEV. But if you sandwich attack the sandwiches, then apparently that's not okay. And yeah, basically what ended up happening is that they identified a vulnerability in the MEV boost relay that caused the relay to prematurely release the full content of the proposed block. What's really interesting here is like these guys, like I said, they're like supposed to be math whizzes, and they found this vulnerability in the way the MEV boost was set up with the staking, and then they had to be actual stakers at the time, and they had to propose a block. So they set up this huge system where they try to obfuscate their funds and set up anonymous validators, and then they bided their time until they got a block, and then once they got a block, they were able to attack the MEV boost. So there was like a lot of forethought here, and even with them covering their tracks so much, you can see here in the indictment that they tried to cover their claims, and they did it over several months. They planned it over the course of several months. They still got caught. So it just tells you more and more now that even though you might think crypto is anonymous, you can get caught. So definitely be careful about what you're doing online. Okay, next we've got some news from Nate Garassi here, who's talking about the ETF, and he's talking about what the rationale would be for a potential SEC rejecting the Ethereum spot ETH ETF. And he says if SEC denies the spot ETH ETFs, what will the rationale be? Will they be talking about correlations between the spot and futures market? Then why did they approve the futures ETF to begin with? Is it because ETH is a security? Then why approve the ETH futures ETFs? Is it because of staking? Well, people are already removing the staking from the applications. He says, I don't see a path for legal disapproval here. Now, when it comes to these matters, the SEC have really painted themselves into a corner, or like dug themselves into a hole where, regardless of what their rationale for declining will be, it's going to be strongly challenged in the courts. And it seems like the most rational outcome for the SEC might be to approve the ETH ETFs without staking and then try to declare staking as security. So that's going to be interesting to see how all that plays out. But here, it's interesting because like the SEC, in 8 days they're going to be making their decision, and people are already trying to figure out what their rationale will be and how to then respond legally, because they're going to go to court. People are going to go to court against the SEC if they reject this, and the SEC is going to lose. So it's a matter of time, and when we get the ETF, not if we get the ETF. Ben Edgington here has a nice tweet. He says, my one and only comment about the matter, he says Ethereum in 2016, and it's like the big Chad dog, and he says like Doge dog, and he says building a parallel financial system to subvert the corrupt institutions. And then Ethereum in 2024, he says it's like a little crying weak dog saying, please give Gensler, please Mr. Gensler, give ETF. I think this is interesting because the Ethereum, the ideas that we have for Ethereum and what we want Ethereum to be is so much more than just it being a vehicle for like TradFi people to be buying the ETH tokens. Of course, that would be great for our bags, but Ethereum as a project and an idea is so much more than that. I think this is really interesting to think about. And then Emmanuel Wasika also says base rollups are greater than ETH ETF. You can have your Boomer TradFi chain with maximum regulatory clarity, but we're making Ethereum cyberpunk again. We don't want ETH Act to be another cause that becomes cultish, but we're definitely accelerating Ethereum and not holding back. Now, this is interesting perspective because we're actually focusing on specific tech developments that are happening right now that are really, really cool for Ethereum, right? And that are going to take Ethereum to the next level. One of those is base rollups. Base rollups are going to be decentralized and permissionless from the beginning. The sequencing, I believe, is going to take place at layer 1 instead of like a separate kind of layer 2 thing. I still need to understand the full technical components of base rollups, but like I know that Tyco are going to be the first base rollup that's going to come out in any matter of months now, like really soon. So that's going to be really exciting. And there's a lot of really cool developments happening at Ethereum, like that we should be like lauding instead of trying to get some kind of SEC approval, which of course would be nice, but is peripheral, I guess, is what these guys are arguing. Okay, Ryan Berckmans here talks about the fees going down and MEV going down on Ethereum and how people are saying that's bearish for ETH, the asset. Well, he presents his ideas that this is actually not bearish for ETH, the asset, and this is actually part of the roadmap that we're undertaking, and we kind of knew that this would happen. This is Ethereum is becoming the world's economic hub and making ETH the world's best store of value. ETH's federal tax revenue, fees, and MEV recently declined because of 3 reasons. And he says that the 3 reasons are basically effective block-based supply went up, MEV activities went to layer 2s instead of staying on layer 1s, and also the falling ETH price reduces demand for block space as well. He says all of these things happened recently over the last few months. So he goes on to say that like if you see people saying like kind of flooding ETH about this, keep in mind that these people have no idea what they're talking about. ETH will become multi-trillion-dollar asset store value, and this valuation will be based on Ethereum being the world's economic hub and not based on fees or MEV. We're actually going to talk about this a little bit later at the end of the episode in some other news that's very interesting. Before we get to that though, here there's a couple of protocols that are doing some cool things. So here we've got news of Lens protocol, which is a decentralized social media, kind of like Farcaster, but it didn't quite gain the popularity that Farcaster did. However, they're making a new push now to try to get 1 billion users online. And the way they're doing that is by moving to one of the zkSync chains. So zkSync, like Arbitrum and Optimism, are kind of creating a world of chains, within their ecosystem. And Lens is now going to become one of these, is going to move to one of these chains. And what they're actually doing, interestingly, is that they're going to be sending their data to a Validium. They're setting up as a Validium, so they're going to send their data to like third party, which they believe that will let them scale up to having, potentially 1 billion users and being able to use that. So they're doing some interesting design work, and it might be something worth having a look at if you are curious about it. But I think in the future, there's going to be a whole spectrum of layer twos and I guess all the way to side chains that will be sending different amounts of data and proofs to Ethereum itself, whether that's through blobs or call data, etc. Like how that's going to work out. There'll be a whole different spectrum of it, all the way through to sending your data and your proofs to sidechains and just sending like a little bit of information to Ethereum, kind of like the way Polygon POS does now, not the way like say Arbitrum or Optimism does now. Okay, next we got this news from Jesse Pollack, who is talking about Base, of course, because he works with Base. But one of the things that he's talking about is how we have more tokens launched in the last 2 months than we have in the whole history of Ethereum up to now. And most of these came on Base, which is pretty exciting. So Connor's original tweet here says there were nearly 1 million new crypto tokens created in last month, a number that is 2 times the total ever made on Ethereum between 2015 and 2023. And you can see that most of these were on Base. This is because a whole bunch of people were making meme coins and meme tokens on Base. And that's where, that whole the whole like push and demand was going. And this is really cool. Like it's showing that there's a whole lot of demand out there for activity on secure blockchains. And Ethereum, of course, used to be that place, and now it's moving to Ethereum layer 2s, which is actually like really, really fun, and it makes it a much better experience for people wanting to interact cheaply with these block spaces. Now, of course, it's always a good reminder to know that none of these layer 2s are currently where we want them to be in terms of decentralization. Like they're either at stage 0 or stage 1 of their development, and we want them all to be at stage 2. However, it seems like they all are on the path towards reaching stage 2, and they want to do it within the next I think Arbitrum have set themselves a target by the end of this year. It seems like Optimism and the OP collective are trying to do it in a similar time frame, and we should stay on their case about them getting there as soon as possible. Okay, we're going to finish today's episode with news from Paul Ryan. Now, some of you might remember that Paul Ryan was the Republican Speaker of the House, and he was a Congress member, for a number of years. Well, he is back in the news now talking about the US's debt. Now, his solution, or one of the things that will be a band-aid to the US debt, is stablecoins. Now, you might be wondering, how do stablecoins impact the US's debt? Well, when the US wants to spend money, the government has to sell bonds to make the money, and you need someone to buy the bonds, right? And the 16th biggest entity buying bonds right now is actually stablecoin issuers. Like if you put it on the chart with like nation states, it would be 16th as an entity, because what they're doing is they're buying bonds, they're getting customer money, and they're putting the money into bonds, and they give the customers stablecoins in return, and then they're keeping the bond money. At least that's what like USDT is doing. And it's printing money. Like they're making a whole billions of dollars basically they're making per year with this system. And what Paul Ryan is here is saying is that the US government should set up stablecoin regulation, and they will then make it easier for stablecoin providers to take money from their customers and buy more US treasuries and bonds, and then let the stablecoin market grow, but also help the US at the same time and cement the US dollar power and US dollar strength. Now, this is something that people in crypto have been saying for a couple of years, and we were all kind of surprised that US politicians weren't understanding just how big a deal this could be for US government. But it seems like more and more politicians are kind of getting on board with this now. Paul Ryan was saying that there's a stablecoin bill that's coming out of a joint Republican and Democrat body, like a group, with Emma and Maxine Waters together working on this, even though they're opposite parties. So this is actually going to be really interesting to see how this works out. But Paul Ryan says that we could potentially see trillions of dollars of stablecoins coming online. And as you all know, the reason why we're covering this is because the majority of stablecoins in crypto are on Ethereum, and Ethereum is the place where these tokens are going. And that will bring so much economic value to Ethereum and economic security that Ethereum will provide. So if, currently we've got $100 billion plus of stable coins, if you get $1 trillion of stable coins on Ethereum, that will drive the price of Ethereum hugely, because of course, Ethereum is what we'll need to secure a whole bunch of these. So this is really exciting, and this is what we mean, when we say that the world is going to adopt crypto, or whether they like it or not. It just makes too much sense for the US government to be selling their treasuries to crypto companies, and this was pretty much always going to happen. So on that note, I'm going to end today's episode. So thank you all for listening, watching, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have a lovely day ahead, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.